The Ardennes Forest, deep in there, is a racetrack. It demands respect, but it can make you a legend. Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2025 RAF Lightning Esports Belgium Grand Prix, round number 5, here in our Best of Verstappen season. And here comes the track. 7 kilometres, the longest track in Formula 1, 4.6 miles, if you're not too certain on that one, and 2 DRS zones. First one along the Kemmel Straight, second one on the main straight. You won't see a track this long in Formula 1 again, but that's why it makes you a legend if you can conquer it. Let's dive in to the calendar then. We're almost at the halfway point of our season. Last week, epic showdown at Silverstone led us here to Spa before we head off to Interlagos for the halfway point of our season. Then to Yas Marina, Suzuka, Bahrain, the Hungaroring, Austria, Austin, Texas, and the home of Max Verstappen, Zandvoort. We got some championship standings this week, and we can see Tank has increased his lead at the top of the standings, with Josh having to slip back after his incidences last week. YB Orthodox making a few moves up the grid. Crow and Iron Green yet to score points. It's Crow's seat under threat. That is the question on everyone's lips. Good evening. Welcome along back to the RAF Lightning's F1 Esports Series. George, as always, and joining me in the commentary box once again, it's Killjoy. Hello, my friend.
Hold me close till I get out.
I'm getting quite used to being here now.
Yeah, you are. Sorry, I put the wrong thing on. Yeah, you're getting used to this now. I think we have to bring you in every week, I think. But we obviously, depending on our schedules, I know my schedule and your schedule sometimes is a little bit tricky. But how have you been? After last week's race, I think a sit-down was probably needed.
Oh, definitely, yeah. A lot of action last week. We kind of knew going into it that was going to happen. I got disconnected halfway through as well, catching up, and it just went a bit mental, really. I think hoping for a quiet one might be a bit of a tall order considering where we are this week.
Absolutely. I think it might be a little bit of a tall order, really. Spa, as we know, like we said in the intro, it's the longest track on the calendar. The track, as I said in the start, it demands respect. Because unfortunately, in the last, probably going the last 6-7 years, we have lost 2 drivers here. Antoine Hubert in 2019, unfortunately, in the F2 race, and then Van Hoft in a Formula Regional race. It is one of the most dangerous circuits on the calendar. So what do drivers have to do here to really, dial in and make sure the lap's perfect?
Well, I think first thing is line through a Rouge, Radion up towards Kemmel. I think you get that wrong, very, very easy to mess up track limits. That's going to cost you time eventually. It's obviously going to invalidate laps, especially when it comes down to qualifying. Sector 2 going through with Pouon. We've got Stablo, corners 12, 13, and 14. And then obviously down towards Blanchimont and into the chicane. You get those wrong, and it is seconds you are losing. It's not tenths. And trust me, I know, because they're the bits I got wrong. So it's all time to be gained and time to be found. But yeah, I think making sure that you're going through those bits as tight as you can, as clean as you can, they're really, really going to be testing some of the drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw as well, 2021, I believe, Lando Norris having a big accident up at Eau Rouge before hitting Radion. And what I'm hearing from Mr. Lemon in the chat, there is possible rain on the horizon for quali in the race. We had a couple of wet races already this season. It does spice it up. In the wet, obviously, Eau Rouge, normally a flat corner. They do have to lift off quite a lot. So rain's always going to cause havoc. We saw it again this year in the real Grand Prix, didn't we, where the rain caused so much havoc. What is it about this track when it rains? It makes it 10 times worse.
I think it's the undulation mostly, and then obviously there's a lot of fast corners. We obviously know we've got a Rouge, Radion up towards the Kemmel Straight, and they're slight corners, but they're literally flat out in the dry, as you say. So when it rains, and obviously you've got that undulation change from diving down through from La Source down towards those corners, you're going at a bit of a lick, really. So when it rains and you're going towards that crest, you just haven't got the grip. And then it's the same going through Puon as well. Obviously, if you get that right in the dry, that's often largely a flat corner as well. Very, very easy to get wrong in the wet. And again, the line is so narrow on this track that it's very easy just to catch it wrong. And then next thing you know, you're off track and hopefully not in the wall.
Hopefully not. Obviously, everyone knows when going up onto Radion, the car likes to bottom out a bit and kind of swing the other way. If you're not careful in the wet, it's even more. We're just waiting for the drivers now to move into qualifying. They've just been in the pre-practice lobby and we're just waiting to go. But yeah, mixed weather on the radar, so we're just waiting for it. Kingo saying, what a great intro for me. All right, Kingy. I can't remember mentioning you. Nemesis, good luck. Don't bottle it. I wonder who that is going to. But realistically, looking from the last race, who's the drivers to watch again this race? Because at the minute, again, I think it's going to be towards Josh and Tank, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Josh and Tank 100%. Based off last week, I don't think we can count out Jack. I don't think we can count out Orthodox either. I think they're going to be some that potentially could really be an unexpected podium potentially from those two as well. Because the race they had last week was absolutely incredible. So it'd be wrong of me not to expect something from them.
Absolutely. I guess we'll just have to wait and see as we go into qualifying, which has now got underway. 18 minutes of qualifying. Cars already starting to leave the track as we get underway. It's dry at the moment, but there is some dark clouds starting to form. So at the minute, I think the main thing that the drivers will be doing is getting out to try and get a hot lap as quickly as possible. Use those tyres and try and set that lap. It may mean if it starts raining at the end, me and you've got a lot of time to fill Killjoy.
It very much may mean that, but again, if it starts raining towards the end, that could be the moment in which everything changes. And we start finding that obviously everyone's diving into the pits last minute, and then we start finding people maybe chancing it not pitting, maybe staying out a couple of laps, depending on when that rain kicks in. Some people might chance it on their dry tires and see if they can eke that out. Not always the best idea, but sometimes it definitely does work.
Absolutely. It sometimes can work. But everyone will be starting to try and get a lap in now to save from the rain. Pretty much every driver is now out on track, bar Green and Kingy. Green and Kingy yet to go off as we look at Hamis on his out lap into the gravel. Don't want to do that too often, especially around that corner, because then there's an auto spin curve just where he's going through now onto Blanchimont, which I've noticed in this game, it does catch you out. So it's going to be crazy. Crow, I've got my notebook ready. The inter-services man is watching closely. I was thinking you were more Ted Kravitz for a minute, mate. Not going to lie to you. But we may have to wait and see. Who knows? Maybe if Crow can later, if he's got his notebook, maybe we'll get a pit lane reporter part out for him since he's not racing again this weekend. Hamis starts the first flying lap of the session then. Out of the hairpin, now running down to Eau Rouge. Wants to clip that corner nicely on the entry. Up the hill and onto Radion. Very nice and smooth. Yellow flag already down at the bus stop. I think that's just for slow cars. Onto the Camel. DRS straight here. This is where we're going to see a lot of the overtaking, especially down on the first lap. We see it most years. Next part of the chicane, very smooth. Going into about fourth then. It's fifth around this corner, trying to keep it clean, not having the car try and derate on you and bog down a bit. The long right-hander trying to keep it nice and tight. It's very hard to try and keep it there. Into No Name. Literally, it's called No Name. Down to fourth, keep it tight. Now on to Puon, one of the fastest corners on the track. Seventh gear, you're flying around here. Trying to make sure you keep it within the track limits. You go over those white lines, your lap is disqualified and you have to go again. into the two right-handers of the track at the bottom of the hill, and then on to Blanchimont. Again, fastest part of the track here. You're flat out the whole time, reaching speeds of nearly 200 miles an hour on this very low downforce track. Again, don't want to hit the curb on the inside. I've learned that the hard way playing LMU, and I went flying into the barrier. Into the bus stop chicane. What can Hamish do? Keeps it tight into the first one. Want to drop into even first gear around the second part of that. Nice and wide on the exit. Keeps him in track limits. Crosses the line now. It's a 1:44.6 to start the qualifying session. So not a bad lap time. I think we're going to see more coming through in the next few minutes.
I mean, yeah, definitely not a bad lap time at all. I mean, especially considering that the current lap record of this in real life was set by Sergio Perez in 2024, which was a 1:44.7. So already faster than Sergio.
And we've gone even faster. Josh, Tank came through first, who we're seeing now, 1:42.6, but then Josh came around on a 1:42.2. So we're seeing even faster times. Obviously, the game's not going to be as respective. And I see rain. I see rain already, I think. Do you see that as well?
Yeah, already some droplets on the camera. I can see that this is shaping up to be quite an interesting race with us already getting rain in on the qualifying. We've not even had every driver set a lap yet. So though, anyone who has not already managed to make their way around the track and put a time in on the board...
Crispus had a spin already. Crispus had a spin.
Oh dear.
Just out of turn one. I don't know whether that's traction or whether the circuit's already that damp. I don't know whether anyone else saw this, but the... oh, Green! Green as well! Out of Blanchimont, not even set a lap yet. He's in the wall. The rain is definitely causing trouble here as Spa-Francorchamps. Green's going to come across the line and set his lap time, which is going to be in the 50s. The 52.2. But what a start. We're seeing cars already have spins and have drama before even they've even set a lap. I think cars are also starting to come into the pit lane, possibly to go onto the inters and just have a bit of wet tyre testing by the looks of it.
Yeah, as I was saying, we're going to have an interesting grid here because we've got the Asset and we've got Green and Kingy all towards the bottom who either haven't set a lap or due to the rain have already set a lap time that isn't what we would say competitive with the rest of the field, who have managed to get one in on the dry. So we're going to end up with some people who we'd potentially want to see towards the front of the grid, actually towards the back, because they're now at a disadvantage with the wet track.
Yeah, Asset is a prime example of that. A 1:47.3 is the best that he could do in the changing conditions. The track is getting wetter. We're seeing droplets on the track now, showing that it has got wetter. This is going to be interesting as we go into the Grand Prix in the next few minutes. Oh, my word. Well, you've got 15 minutes to fill, gents. How long until you start talking about bathtubs is what Crow's saying to us.
But, I mean, I can pull up some facts here really quick if you want to talk about bathtubs.
Be calling you Jack in a minute. Oh, and he's also said, I mean, that would be a great series if I keep bottling races. Crow's Nest, RAF notebook. I think we might have to... I think you need to retire now, Crow. Let's get you in on that. We'll get you in at the end of the stream, I think, and see what you find. Interesting.
Good title for his RAF memoirs, maybe.
Absolutely. Orthodox has gone on to intermediates because there is still time to find even on the inters.
Oh.
Tank has also done it.
Golf Maniac off the track. Just coming out of turn 7. Seems to lose grip, slides right across the track, taps the back end of the wall. Doesn't seem to be too much damage there, but yeah, not a great start to the lap.
Not a great start to lap, and still on the slick tyres. Obviously not able to dissipate the water very well compared to the grooved intermediates, which the track is almost at the point of inters. I haven't seen a message yet declaring DRS disabled. A lot of the drivers use that as an indicator for the track being too wet, but by the looks of it, with rain puddles already forming, drivers are having a bit of a bad time. We're looking at Golf Maniac at the minute. He's having a bit of a slidey time getting around the circuit. Let's keep looking then, as I think Bomber is about to come across the line. Yeah, He is. DRS is now disabled as I speak about it. So track conditions now declared too wet. And cars are coming into the pit lane. I see a few coming out, but not a lot. I think it's just starting to become a bit of a wet tyre test, if anything, because we're not going to see times on the board as fast as the 142s, but possibly the people who are in the low or the high 40s, maybe they could possibly improve on their time a little bit.
Yeah, I think certainly from 12 backwards, there's the potential there for a bit of a change, but depending on how wet that track gets, we can see anywhere around a 10-second difference on lap time based on wet versus dry. So the people who've already set times and managed to get those in before the rain started coming down, or even just as the rain started, they're probably feeling pretty good right now. Anyone left is unfortunately, I think, going to be scrapping for the back sort of 4 to 5 positions.
So at the moment then, we could possibly say for sure Josh has got pole from Tank, and even from Hamish, probably going down maybe into from 7th onwards. We might see a couple of scraps in the 45s kind of region. We might see a few scraps. But cars now on the intermediate tyre because track conditions are very, very wet. But I must admit, I do appreciate the guys and girls because they've decided to go out on track and keep us talking about something rather than sitting in the pit lane and going, yep, nothing we could do that.
It's always great when you have a bit of entertainment. There's things to talk about. Certainly with obviously people who've already spent lap times, and some of them still going out to get those wet laps in. Maybe just using this as some last-minute practice for the race.
Well, that's it. It's like what Jack said in the chat just now. We're expecting rain in the race at some point, so we could be seeing that, whether that be at the start or whether that be near the end. I think personally it might be better seeing it near the end of the race, like I'd say very close to the end, only just because we like a bit of a dry to wet, don't we? Even if it was wet to dry, I think if it got dry near the end, I think it would still make some interesting racing.
Yeah, I think personally, I think I always prefer the dry to wet because the surety of the start, and obviously you always get a bit of action at the start anyway. But then having that kind of race settle down, everyone gets in their paces, everyone gets in their positions. And sometimes, certainly with a track this long, you end up with gaps between cars where not really a lot is changing. As soon as that rain starts coming down, everyone starts diving into the pit, and it is the difference between those people who dive in early, dive in late, just at the right time, and everything can change.
Absolutely. We love it. We love changeable conditions in this sport, like we've seen over, well, the past season. We've had a few races where it's been quite changeable. We have gotten off somewhere. I think it might be Golf Maniac. Yes, Golf Maniac at the chicane after the Camel Straight, gone into the gravel. Got himself back on the road, but is still on the dry tyre. Setting a 2:01.2. I think if we were in real life F1 right now, that'd be out the 107%.
Yeah, I think it probably would be. Certainly based off the times as we're currently getting now. Yeah, I think unfortunately that wouldn't quite get there. Thankfully, I think obviously we don't need to worry about that too much here. Maybe thankfully for Golf, because he does seem like he is struggling on those dry tires. So hopefully he'll make his way in and get himself some inches or something and improve that lap time. You never know, he could end up taking a position from green.
He could well do. James Kingo outlap at the moment, yet to set a time in this session, but hopefully we'll get a time on the board. We're looking at Tank then. This will give us not the most respected time of how long it's going to take to go around the track, because at the minute he's about to cross the line in the high 50s, a 56.4 Tank does there. So it's not the most I don't know whether it's the most respectable time for the conditions in the 50s, but if that is the case, this board isn't going to change too much, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, with lap times, any time it is wet, you're looking anywhere, and it can just depend from track to track. Sometimes, some tracks you're going to lose more, sometimes you're going to lose a bit less. But wet from dry is usually somewhere around that 10-second margin. I think here it might be closer to the 12-second, just based off that. But we'll obviously wait and see if anyone does manage to post a faster lap time. But I would say, given the conditions, it's about right for what we would expect for this kind of track condition at the moment.
Absolutely. 4 minutes remaining in this session. I think we've filled nearly 15 minutes of time quite well. Let's go into iconic moments around this track. Obviously, this track has been on the calendar for a very, very long time. I think it was 2006 or 2007. It wasn't on the calendar because they did make changes. That's very late into the pit lane. The Hamis there hasn't impeded anyone, but a very, very late dive into pit lane from them there. But yeah, the track, I think 2006, 2007, obviously they weren't on the calendar because they made those changes to mainly the Blanchimont into the bus stop section. Because obviously the old track used to kind of curve around onto the main straight with the old little house in the middle, from what I remember. But what would you say is a big iconic moment for you around this track?
I think, I mean, I don't know. I've got some stats up here. I don't know if I'll be able to pull out any one singular iconic moment. It every time it comes up, that the something that you can pull out. But I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be able to say personally.
Oh.
I think of any one individual.
I think there's one moment for me, and this is before I was born. Okay, we're going back into the 90s. Schumacher and Coulthard. The incident they had, I think it was down actually here on Blanchimont. Schumacher going into the back of Coulthard because of the wet conditions. Schumacher losing his tyre. Coulthard losing his rear wing. Both of them forced them to retire. Schumacher storming down the old pit lane, and it was in the time, trying to square off with Coulthard. And you've got Ron Dennis, a couple of the pit mechanics, and I think it was Jean Todt at the time, pulling Mike away and saying, no, don't do it. Yeah, I think that's the one that sticks with me.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember seeing that, and I think that may have been before I was able to recall this, to be honest, given my age. But
I wasn't even born.
I remember. I mean, I don't know what year it was exactly, but there's no way I'd be remembering it. I think I was born in '96. But yeah, I remember seeing videos and reruns of that. That's got to be up there somewhere. But speaking of Michael Schumacher, he has currently got, anyway, whether this changes in recent times or not, the most wins at Spa, with 6 wins in total. We're already seeing one world record, or record, if you want, broken by Max this season with the fastest race, which I believe was broken at the weekend just gone.
Yes.
So is there a situation where we could see another one be broken with wins at Spa? Is Max or someone close enough in order to get those wins? And are we going to see something else taken off the cards?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, next season obviously is the change in regulation. It's rumoured the cars are going to go a lot faster because evidently these cars that they bought in 2022 haven't been the best. They thought it would be faster, more like the cars are more aerodynamic, it should be more close battling. We haven't really seen that in recent times, so these new changes next year could indeed do that. But yes, Max Verstappen did break the record for the fastest race at the weekend at the Italian Grand Prix. 1 hour 13 minutes was the time. They didn't really know once they crossed the line. I remember listening to David Croft and Martin Brundle trying to work it out, and the producer had to tell them in the ear in the end. Track's getting a lot wetter now. It's going to be wet tyres in a minute. Got Jack here trying to go around the track, not really able to get around. Checker flag is out though, so we'll see what happens as Jack goes very wide. Inter's now really not the tyre you want to be on. He's drifting around the corners, trying to find some grip, but just it's not there at all for Jack, who's currently sat P8. But yeah, Max also has the fastest lap ever in Formula One in average speed his average speed was showing that he had the fastest lap ever. I haven't got the stat up in front of me, so if someone's got it, whack it in the chat. It'd be amazing. But records are there to be broken. Red Bull had a very good weekend in Monza, you know, with qualifying and race win. But, you know, we head off to the next race in a couple of weeks' time, and that could all change. McLaren still on the hunt for the constructors. Crow, 246.8 kilometers an hour was his average speed around Monza. That is quick.
It is definitely, and Crow is the kind of person that would somehow remember that. I was just
he's
looking
not
at
racing. He's taking a sabbatical. He's got more time on his hand.
Yeah, he has 100% got more time on his hand. I was looking at the number of races just to see who would potentially be within a shout of winning at Spa over the next potentially couple of years and taking the top spot from Michael. So we have Michael with 6 wins. We have Ayrton Senna and Lewis both with 5. Jim Clark, Raikkonen both with 4. And the only person we've got in the current lineup on F1 is Max with 3. So I think realistically, based on the performance, unless Ferrari could pull something out, I think Michael's safe.
I think he might be qualified over them at Spa Frogshot. This is your grid going into the race in a few moments' time. It's Josh from Tank, Hamish, George Biel, Bomber, Jack, FDQ, Jack Goring, White Bee Orthodox, Moonbeam, Atomic Tristian, Crisper, The Asset, I'm Green, Golf Maniac was the times set while on the soft tyre. James Kingo rounds off the grid to start at the back from a very, very interesting session. So with that over then, we will wait for the drivers to be ready for the race. But yeah, it is a very, very interesting season in real life F1 at the moment. We know where the constructors is going. We know where the drivers is going. It's just what driver now. I think we're going to go into it real F1 for a moment anyway, I think. There was one controversial part at the weekend, wasn't there, with Lando and Oscar. Lando had that slow stop. He pitted second, got the slow stop. Oscar passed him. Then Oscar was told to give the position back and then race for it on track. Do you think that was a good decision by the team? Or do you think actually that's racing, it should have stayed as it was?
Potentially controversial, although from what I've seen, maybe not. I think ultimately it's racing. It happens to everyone. We've seen it happen to people who are leading championships. We found it to people who are leading races. It happens to everyone. It's just one of those things, unfortunately, that, you know, occasionally you're going to have a bad stop, and that's as much on, you know, potentially on you as it is on the team. And when you've got a drivers' championship that is looking to change hands this year, and it is one of your drivers, realistically, to me, I think that we should have just let them keep the positions as it was. If they race on track and Lando happens to get past just by the natural course of things, well, then that's fine. Ultimately, though, Oscar is ahead, I believe, in the standings, and unless I've completely spaced and ended up on another year, I think realistically we should have just left it as it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not my decision, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oscar Piastri, 324 points at the moment in the World Championship. Lando Norris, 293. And Max Verstappen, third at the moment with 230 points. In the Constructors, McLaren dominating the way at 617 points. They could win the championship in Singapore, is from what we're hearing. But back to the action at Spa then. Formation lap underway for the drivers. Let's see what tyres they have decided to go on, shall we? If I can get my system to work properly. So, tyres at the moment, top 7 or top 6, all on the hard tyre. Then FDQ and Jack got onto the medium. YB Orthodox and Moonbeam onto the hard. Atomic Tristian on the medium. Crisper on the hard. The Asset and Iron Green gone medium. Golf Maniac hard. Kingo on the medium. So I'm thinking the top 6 are predicting rain, potentially near the
I
end,
think so.
trying to go for that longer stint.
It's an interesting pick on the hards, though, I would say. Although it could play out well for them. It honestly all depends on when that rain is coming in. Just looking at some strategy data I've got here, the ideal pick for a dry race is soft medium or medium soft, depending on what lights your candle and which way around that wants to run. I think the 50% as we do here, that usually lasts around 22 laps. So that would work out, I would say, the best to be looking at the medium soft. Medium's obviously going to give you a bit more sort of comfortability in the corners, a bit more speed around the track, but obviously it's going to die off a little bit faster than the hards. So it could be a gamble for the people on mediums. They could end up capitalizing because of that early advantage. Depending on when that rain comes in, that could work out really, really well for them. We could also see it at a point where the mediums die off and the rain hits then, and those people on the hards have been able to keep that pace for longer, and they're ultimately going to have that advantage. So it's interesting to see that we've got just over half the field on hards and the rest on mediums. That's going to be really, really interesting to see how that plays out as we go through.
Absolutely then. Drivers coming back on to the grid to start the race then. Golf Maniac's already been teleported back to his grid spot after an incident out on track. But we are waiting for the final drivers now to line up. Josh's tyres and tanks sat there getting colder. It's the battle of the two at the front then once again, as it is in the championship, as it starts to heat up. 5 races in. What can the remaining 7 races do? The lights come on the top of the gantry then. It's lights out, and away we go. Josh with a good start. Tank's bogged down a little bit. I think Hamish is going to have to go. Bomber's already up into P4. Tank able to stay just ahead. There's contact, there's first turn. There's contact right there. 4 don't go into 1. I can't really tell who's got into the ground with the FDQ. Has got a 10-second time penalty, though, for a severe collision with Hamish. It's a big incident down into turn 1. What a start from the drivers. Up to Puon. Tank's going to have a little look at Josh here. Using the slipstream. DRS not available on the first lap. We're going to see what happens. Tank going on the inside. Takes the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix. Almost contact there up at the chicane, but is able to carry on going. Jack is in P3 at the moment. What a start there by the normal commentator. Now Racer, it seems. Bit of a career switch. There's battles going on round the back as well as they come into the long left-hander. More and more you can see there. Bomber and Kingo both tried to have a go here on Jack, but Kingo having an amazing start. 11th from 16th to 11th. Made lots of places up. FDQ trying to make some more places up, but has got that 10-second time penalty looming over ahead. As we see Jack going a little bit wide. George Biel now able to try and sneak away. Gap at the front, half a second already. Jack nearly 2 seconds down from the front runners. Absolutely crazy start there. I think we knew, though, with those first few corners, or the way this track runs, we were going to get something mental happening there. We can always see with Hammers there, 3.3 seconds down from Tristan, so there's a gap forming quite big there. We've still got Jack, as you say, around 2 seconds. So he's not out of it, but he's going to have to put some work in to get back to where he wants to be. Lots of changes towards the back. We've got Jack and George swapping positions. Sorry, have you seen something? Yeah, I was watching the same thing there. There was a lot of contact between Jack and George there. Surprising. Jack makes 2 positions up in just 2 corners, up into P7. And we've got Hammers dropping positions as well. George BL not having a fun time in that pack. Really trying to make up some positions as well. We've got, I think, Crispo and Boom Beans have just swap positions as well. So many changes on this opening lap. It's hard to keep track. Josh and Tank changing positions once again, using the slipstream. DRS now enabled as well. Up the Camel straight. Josh retakes the lead. Jack goes down into P3 without that DRS advantage. Was left a little bit vulnerable there. Down the Camel straight is now down to 4th. Going to have to fight the assets, try and get that position back. The asset, though, on the faster medium tyres, 1.4 seconds is the gap. Can Tank Can the asset close the gap onto the leaders and give them a bit of a fight? That's going to be the question at the moment. Lap 2 then of 22, so we've got 20 laps remaining here at Spa-Francorchamps. I forgot where we were for a minute. Corey may even have to take my place if I can't do that. But we're about to come in. I'll take his place, it's fine. Yeah, medium hard. Lap 9 is the strategy at the moment. They're thinking from medium to hard. I just missed the second part of the strategy there. That's what was predicted from AWS, or the in-game engine there, just thinking about what to do. But we've got a bit of a gap now to the leaders. The asset has really been able to catch up, but those tyres are going to wear down a little bit quicker than the hard tyres. We do know the asset is going to come in a little bit faster, but takes the fastest lap of the race, 146.9. It's FDQ, another 10-second time penalty for FDQ for corner cutting, as Jack Gorin now takes the fastest lap, 146.3. So we're seeing fastest lap as a fastest lap.
Yeah, Jack Goring's really putting in some work here as well. He's managed obviously to climb some positions, and has ended up closing the gap with Hamaz that was in front, looking around that 3-second mark. He's managed to close that gap in less than a lap, down to under a second. It's really putting in some work there. We could see him start actually making some moves. He's already closing in quite quickly on Tristan. He's looking like, could we see a move in the next couple of corners? He's getting really, really close.
Yeah, the asset.
Obviously, that qualifying really just hindering some people.
Absolutely, and then the race start as well, seeing drivers going into the gravel, 4 into 1, as we said, don't mix. And we saw that quite a bit into turn 1. The asset, though, has really made use of those medium compound tyres, is now right on the back of Tank. Will he be able to do anything into Blanchimont? We've seen moves go on there in the past. We saw Max Verstappen do a move into Blanchimont, I think, in real life. They did in the sim, I think, a few days earlier. Thought he'd risk it in real life, and it worked. So, you know what? Sim racing can lead you into real-life racing at times. We've got a yellow flag down into Sector 2. Can't quite see how that is. That is Kingo. Yes, Kingo having a bit of an incident there at the back. He's facing the wrong way. He's now facing the right way once again. Tank is under pressure, though, from the asset. This is the second DRS zone technically on track. It's going to pop open. The asset's going to have a go. Jack Gorin, though, able to make a move on YB Orthodox into the final corner. Is able to carry on going. Tank's really closing in on Josh Lau into turn 1. The asset breaking late. Not quite able to make it. Orthodox makes his way back up into P5 and able to carry on. There's another yellow flag down into the final sector. I think that might just be because everyone's going a little bit slowly there. So we've gone back to green almost straight away. The asset now it's come away from Tank a little bit. I think he's waiting to see if he can pick up pieces if this move goes wrong. Tank goes on to the inside of the corner, overtakes Josh, able to take the corner nice and easily, nice and clean. But Josh comes back on the rebound and makes a move around the inside of Tank there. Excellent move there by Josh as they go into the next corner on the inside. Tank, the asset, really decided to hang back here a little bit because he knows something's going to go. But Josh able to maintain the lead, but that was an interesting couple of corners.
100%, and right behind them as well, we've got Jack Goring absolutely smashing it, climbing up that leaderboard, insanely quick. And where's this guy come from? Honestly, it's just absolutely insane how quickly he's managing to get through, and he's closing those gaps. Really, I think this could honestly be a surprise podium.
It could well be. I think what we've got to keep in mind at the minute, though, they are on the medium tyre. They're on the faster, grippier tyre. They are going to wear off a little bit quicker as we go later into the race. It's only lap 4. We're going a little bit ahead of ourselves, but I don't think you're wrong. I think we are going to see some surprise podiums pop up near the end of the race. Coming on to lap 5, then, it's Josh from Tank, from the asset, Jack Lemon, Jack Gorin, YB Orthodox, Tristan, Hamish, George, Bomber, Crisper, Boombeam, Golf Maniac, Iron Green, FDQ, and James Kingo at the back after his spin down at the top of Eau Rouge. Sorry, no, he was down just before the final sector, I should say. But yeah, this race heating up on a beautiful Belgian summer's day, it seems. No rain yet, but the radar was saying there's a possibility of rain maybe near the end of the Grand Prix. We're not too sure at the moment. Gap's starting to form at the front then. 0.6 of a second is the gap. The Asset, 0.3 of a second. He's just got to keep it nice and tidy to stay within DRS range, get the slipstream and use the battery wisely. We don't want to be losing those at the moment. George Biel has been able to make a move at the top of the hill on Hamas. He's now up into P8, wants to try and get a little bit of redemption because the first 5 laps of his Grand Prix have not been the greatest. As there's contact there with George diving on the inside, not seeing where Hamas is. Hamas has now also lost position to Bomber. That is a little bit interesting there, I think. Looks like he just squeezed in into the corner a little bit, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've got some going wide as well. I think obviously some fierce battling goes through. I actually just missed the contact, but coming into it, but I saw the kind of runaway. But I think it's really trying to keep positions with the way there's so many changes happening already on lap 5. I think everyone's kind of scrapping to hold on to what's theirs at the moment.
Absolutely, it's scrappy as anything at the moment. 0.8 of a second is the gap at the top of the standings. So we are starting to see these gaps start to form, which is inevitable around Spa. Everyone trying to save their ERS usage because the battery around here does deplete fairly rapidly, doesn't it? From what I remember.
Yeah, it definitely does, because you've got so many fast corners, so many long straights, plenty of places to use that battery to either keep or gain positions. And we've got Kingy there with a 3-second time penalty, I believe, due to track limits. Was that?
Yes.
So he's not having the best race at the moment.
No, at the minute, Kingy, a little bit of a hopefully he can try and redeem his Grand Prix a little bit later on as we go into lap number 6. These laps whittling away ever quicker the longer we go into it. At the moment, we're looking at George Biel, who is fighting to stay ahead of Bomber at the moment. The gap's kind of being maintained, but Bomber is starting to push a little bit harder, trying to catch up with George. George obviously caught up in the incidents last week. Both incidents were deemed no further action from Silverstone between himself and Josh. Both drivers to blame because they weren't giving each other enough space, which I think was a fair ruling. So Josh really wanted to find some redemption from George, wanted to find some redemption from that and get some well-deserved points onto the table. Josh, at the moment, 25 points would be in the bag, but wouldn't be enough yet to take the top spot at the championship. We'll have to fight a bit more for that. See there, Bomber really trying to get as close as he can. We've got yellow flag down into sector 3. That is Iron Green. Iron Green has had a little bit of spin. He's in the wall. Green in the wall down into Blanchimont. I think there is definitely front wing damage there for Iron Green and his green machine. Yeah, I think that's an end plate that's come off.
Yeah, it is.
I said it at the start of the stream. That corner there, I think there is a curb there which really can throw you off, can't it? If I'm remember rightly.
You've got the I think it's the I'm going to butcher this. It's curve Paul Ferrer, maybe, is what it's called on the track map that I've got here. I think it's a little bit of one of those corners, I think, that kind of catches you a little bit by surprise. In terms of how that corner flows, you've really got to understand how it goes in through towards turn 16, 17 at Blanchimont. Going through the S's down towards Stavolo, obviously all those corners are very similar, very kind of 90-degree corners, but they are still quite quick because of how open the track can be. And then you go into that one, and I think because of the way it sort of curves out and isn't quite the same angle, you end up wanting to get on the power a little bit quicker, and it can just throw you to the outside. And unfortunately, that seems to be what's happened with Green there.
Yeah, Green had a little bit of an incident there. He has stayed out, so the front wing not hurting him too much. So he's currently down at no name corner and is carrying on the race as normal. But I've just seen the Asset has decided to box already off those medium tyres. So medium tyre runners now thinking about a switch. It might be a little bit early, actually, at the moment. Sees the first one in. So is Tom and Tristan. Tristan's in as well on the medium tyre. They're going to go, I think it's going to be the hard tyre. Yes, hard tyre there for Bomber. Sorry, the Asset, because they're same colour on track. Green has had another incident down just on the entry to Stavilo, from what I'm seeing there. But he has got moving again. So we're not seeing a safety car yet, as we would normally see around here. FDQ and Atomic Tristan both in as well to go onto the hard compound tyre. Asset comes out in 10th, but now has got all the work to do to try and get back up near the front runners.
Yeah, we're going to start seeing some position changes with the tyre changes as well. But this is where we're potentially going to see the difference between stopping now and losing those positions, and if this rain comes in. Because stopping now and obviously having to change with those medium tyres.
Roof's tired.
Yeah, it looks like he's decided maybe this is over for him, unfortunately. But yeah, no, obviously changing from the mediums onto those hards. The hards obviously looking towards to get you to the end of the race. But with that rain coming in, is it going to be all for naught with that extra stop on the cards?
It's what it could be. I can see it's getting a little bit darker as we're talking about rain. So could we see potentially some rain come through? Tank and Josh staying out at the moment, being on the hard tyre. They've got that longer stint, so they're not thinking about pitting at the moment. Jack Gorin, the only runner in the top 13 drivers on the medium, has decided to stay out that little bit longer, so is going to extend that stint on the medium tyre, possibly knowing there could be some rain on the way. I think he's struggling already, actually. Lots of locking up. And I think I've seen a little bit of wheel spin out of the corners. So could be starting to lose that grip. But, again, gaps all around the circuit now starting to form once again while pit stops are happening. So the closest gap at the minute is the Asset. I think Jack is looking to try and find a way around the other Jack. The two Jacks having a bit of a fight here is what we'd like to see. Trying to find his way through as quickly as possible. Golf Maniac boxes from 14th on the hard tyre. This could be another set of the hards if we do see some rain. There is some darker clouds in the pit lane from what I can see on the stream. Still blue skies, however. It's medium tyres for Golf Maniac. So trying to possibly get to the end. And a front wing change. So there was damage to the front wing of Golf Maniac there. Asset, however, has made his way up into P8 at the moment. Golf Maniac has just rejoined the session, so that's the AI doing that. I think he might be in the Discord chat, maybe saying some words that we can't say on broadcast.
Quite possibly, yes, quite possibly. Although it is potentially a bit of a blessing in disguise. Certainly thing is that AI's managed to go through the pits and change tyres for him. Might be coming out in a nice fresh set of tyres to try and get back going again.
This thing though, we've still got another 12 or so laps to go. Medium tyres for 12 laps. That, especially if we don't get any rain, that's going to be difficult around here.
It is, yeah. I mean, it just shows how much the tyre model in this game has potentially changed from the last one. As I say, the only data I've got to go off is from last year's. Unfortunately, I can't find any data for this year. I have tried, but you know, game to game, they don't always change that much. In this game, though, it is very much looking like the tyre model and the way the degradation works and the wear as we go through the races has changed to make this more of a medium hard kind of race, whereas previously, as I mentioned, we were looking at more of a medium soft race. Again, looking from last year, mediums lasting anywhere between 11 and 22 laps. We're already seeing drivers on lap 8, lap 9 struggling to keep that car under wraps in potentially the same way. And I'm just following Golf Maniac here a little bit, who is obviously trying to make some ground up from where he's currently sat, locking up those wheels into the chicane on those new mediums as well. Hopefully he won't do that too much because he won't want those flat spots forming.
Absolutely. Jack still sat behind Jack Goring. Gap is closed to 0.2 of a second. YB Orthodox 1.1 seconds behind, waiting to pick up the pieces should something go wrong. That's what all the drivers are looking to do, with Orthodox really starting to catch up to these two now. Jackson have a little look into the chicane, decides to stay out of it, wait for the DRS zone, but it's getting even tighter. Jack Goring decides, nope, I'm going to pit. I'm not going to let you overtake me on track. I'm going to try and get the upper hand for the second stint. So Jack comes in, most likely for the hard compound tyre. Puts Jack up into P3, however, yet to stop. Drivers now, hard compound tyre drivers who started there, 10-lap-old hard tyre, still pushing as hard as possible. YB Orthodox has now got under a second, going into the DRS detection point. Will now come into the activation point, is 0.8 behind and closing, but will still be too far. I don't even think he's got his DRS open, actually, so he may have just missed out on that one. But that gap is still closing from YB Orthodox on the same age tyres. Could that be that the setup is actually working in his favour? Most likely, because it is a very low downforce circuit. Looking at the asset, up into P6 at the moment, starting to catch up with George Biel, but obviously is trying to keep an eye on what the front runners are doing so that he can possibly go for the undercut. But safety car probability is still very high around here. We could even see a safety car later on in the Grand Prix, so we'll just have to wait and see that. Only driver on the medium tyres at the moment is Golf Maniac, from pitting from the hard tyre onto the medium. It's got a very, very long way to go, but we're halfway through this race now, and it's still all to play for, isn't it?
It is, definitely. And looking, certainly podium-wise anyway, we've got Josh and Tank obviously battling out, as they have been over the last couple of weeks. That gap with Josh and Tank, and then going from Jack, climbing roughly 2-3 tenths, it seems, every lap. Over the last couple of laps, we've gone from about 14.8 second gap to a 15.8 as I'm looking at it currently. But obviously we are expecting rain, as we keep saying as we're going through, so that could end up closing quite drastically with a pit. Are we going to see some undercuts or overcuts as well with that potential pit coming through onto what I would assume would be the intermediate tyres if we get some wet weather?
Absolutely. Just seen CRISPR had a bit of an incident down at chicane, so we could be seeing there possibly something happen, maybe just losing it on the exit of the corner. Orthodox 0.5 of a second now with DRS advantage, not quite able to catch up to Jack there, having to fight just that little bit more and last a couple more laps before getting there. The asset now really closing in on George Biel. 0.2 of a second is the gap on the fresher, harder compound tyre. That's going to really work in his favour as we go into the final part of this Grand Prix. It's really sat on the back as they go through No Name and now on the run down to Puon. But I wouldn't chance an overtake round Puon. It is possible, but it's a very dangerous corner to even think about doing it there. Personally, not my style for that one. So it's Josh from Tank, from Jack, Orthodox, and George Biel. All is your top 5 from the Asset, Bomber, Hamish, Jack Gorin, Boombeam, CRISPR, Tom Tristan, FDQ, Golf Maniac, and James Kingo. I'm Green, retiring from this Grand Prix not too long ago. Still waiting to see if we do get that rain, as we see here now. The Asset wanting to have a go into chicane, not quite able to do it. George Biel having to fight it off a little bit more. Stays out on track, is going to carry on going for that little bit longer. The Asset opening DRS, going to have a look into La Source. Is there going to be anything? No. Stays behind. Is going to have a go on the Camel. See if he can do anything there. Down the Endurance pit straight for heading on Eau Rouge onto Radion. Eau Rouge being the corner at the bottom, Radion the corner at the top. Now onto the Camel straight. They're already side by side before the DRS is open, and the Asset with ease, with DRS, able to get past. Jack Gorin with 3 second tyre plate. It's not going to help him there, but the Asset up into P5. The leaders now surely must be thinking about pitting anytime soon.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously with Camel, the Camel straight being the last DRS section of the lap. The first, obviously, being the pit straight. All we need to see now is the asset pull out a bit of a gap, and he may have secured himself that position. Making sure that you can be on the back of the car in front going into the Kemmel, I think, is a key strategy, because it just allows you the rest of that lap to try and make sure that you can pull out a difference, hopefully meaning that the car behind won't have another go at you on the way out of there on your following lap.
Absolutely. The top two still out on track at the moment. Jack is still under pressure by YB Orthodox as they go around Radion. The asset, though, 3 seconds behind these two fighting here, Jack Lemon and YB Orthodox. Still on those hard tyres as we speak. And you can just see there, the asset is now looking at them both and ready to pounce on his prey by the looks of it and get back up into those podium positions, which, if that happens, puts him in an incredible position to go for the lead realistically. Because gap at the minute from the leaders, if we just have a quick look, as we look at this now, YB Orthodox going to have a go around the outside of Jack as well and makes it stick a little bit of the slide, but I've just seen rain. It's raining. It's raining. Jack has a massive slide out of Lecombe and is really starting to struggle. But I think, yes, we have rain. We're just over halfway through. Rain has started falling. We're asking the weather gods for this. Now this is going to really spice up the racing, I think.
100%. Yeah, we're going to see drivers diving in, I would imagine, in the next couple of laps. Some of them obviously hoping that they can maybe eke out a few more laps on the tyres that they have. I think certainly the drivers who have been waiting for this, clearly on the hards, waiting for this from the beginning, they're going to really be glad that they chose the tyres that they did to start this off. We're going to see, I think, a staggering of people diving into the pits last minute to try and get those changes done onto the intermediate tyre. That could honestly be the difference. We've got some drivers, we've got the asset who's a 0.1, 0.2 behind Jack, looking for a potential move here as well. We've got some drivers further down the field, and these pit stops honestly could be the difference between being in the points and being outside.
Whoa, that's the asset! The asset almost into the wall there. Sorry to interrupt you there, but the asset losing the back end. And we've got yellow flags down into La Source as well. They've gone green straight away, but the asset looked to have made a move on Jack and just lost it under the DRS.
Really, really struggling move. I caught that as your reaction as well, just seeing him come back onto the track. Yeah, you definitely don't want to be losing it there and looking straight at a wall on the exit of that corner.
Cars already into the pit lane. Bomber, Jack Gorin, Hamis, Atomic Tristan, Crisper, all into the pit lane, trying to get onto those intermediates early, trying to see if they can salvage something from their race and get on them earlier before everyone else, because that gap that you see there to the leader is going to drop even further as we go along into this Grand Prix. But this is incredible. This is what we want from racing. I would have thought we were going to have a safety car for a minute, and that would have been, I think that would have taken it away for a bit. I think the rain's all we need for a moment. But my, oh my, that is incredible. From what we can see, FDQ coming into pit lane now to get onto those intermediate tyres. We're going to go and have a look at the lead. Josh, with a 4-second gap to Tank now. Not too sure what's happened there because their gap was very, very close. It's now dropped to nearly 5 seconds. Rain's starting to come down. We're starting to see puddles forming on the curbs. What are the leaders going to do? Have they decided? Is it the time that's locking up there from Josh? Josh has decided to come into the pits. Tank also into the pits as well. And the next people to come up into, I think we can see Jack and Orthodox both at Blanchimont at the moment. This is getting exciting. Intermediates for Josh and Tank. It's going to be inters, I think, for everyone now. I think everyone's going to dive in. Yeah, Orthodox decides to box this lap as well, along with Jack. I think the asset as well. Yeah, George Biel. I can see everybody starting to come in to the pit lane now. This is going to be really, really good as we can see Josh overtaking some cars there. Orthodox has gone onto the wrong tyre. It's soft tyres for Orthodox. What has happened there? Soft tyres on a dry track. That is going to really ruin his race, I think.
Yeah, not the optimal strategy there. But I've just noticed as well. I'm not sorry if you've already mentioned. We've got Kingy going on to new mediums. So
That is new.
2 drivers that have, unless something's wrong here, 2 drivers that have managed to go into the pit and unfortunately not ended up with the right tyre for the weather.
Yeah, this is interesting. It's probably from when they were changing it in their multifunction display. They've accidentally selected soft along the medium, or they haven't changed it, and they've gone for what the next kind of tyre is on their strategy. Unless there's been a glitch where, obviously, Mark will come over the radio and give you a strategy and say, go on to these tyres, and it hasn't taken it. So that could be something that has happened there. I'm not too sure. But that does mean that Orthodox is going to have to come back into the pits. Kingy's going to have to come back into the pits and try it again. We've got a yellow flag down into sector 3. I think that's for a slow-moving asset, potentially, at the moment. We've gone green again, though, so we don't have to worry too much about it. But my, oh my, this has just become more entertaining all of a sudden as the intermediates come out, and I don't think the rain's going to subside anytime soon. As much as we don't see it, could there be a possibility for wets?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it depends. Ultimately, we've got what, roughly 5 laps to go. So maybe not enough time to get the wet. The rain, I don't think, is coming down hard enough for that. But I'm just on board with Kingy at the moment. He's managed to get himself in the pit. He had a little bit of a squirrely entrance into the pits there. Not quite making the breaking point for the chicane. We're getting a couple of penalties popping up for James. I think we had another one a second ago for Jack. So that's not going to help their campaign at all. We've got YB Orthodox obviously dropping down the field now to 8th. Based on his swap, James managing to gain a position as well. Looks like everyone is now on the intermediate tyres. I don't think we're going to end up hitting wets. So yeah. I think everyone who's getting on these tyres now has just got to really lock in and try and make the most of what they can with what's left.
Yeah, absolutely. We've just seen, actually, Jack's got up into P3. There's a battle for third here between Jack, the asset, George Biel, Jack Goring at the moment, I believe. No, not even that. There was a blue flag runner. I think that's of Kingo, who's had to move aside. I thought it was a car racing and having to slow down. So Jack, the asset, and George Biel all racing for a podium now, and it is a very tight contest. There is no, I think, am I right? DRS is still enabled at the moment.
I've not seen anything to say it's disabled, so yeah, it certainly looks like it is enabled at the moment. I would be expecting that to be dropping anytime soon, though. Certainly as the condition obviously gets worse, as we can already see the rain hitting and coming down at a reasonable pace.
Yeah, absolutely. Cars starting to kind of squirrel around the corners a lot more as well, so we can tell the conditions are getting very, very greasy and even damp at the moment. But yeah, Jack, the asset, and George Biel all fighting for third at the moment, and it's very, very tight. With DRS still enabled, it's going to make it very, very interesting over the next few minutes. Now, Cat Plane is in the chat at the moment, just saying hello. I'm glad I chose a nap over this, she's saying. I mean, valid point. If you're not used to racing in the wet, then yeah, I think a nap probably is the better idea there.
Miss out on all the excitement though that we've had so far to choose a nap over this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I would maybe be questioning it from that point of view, but yeah, as you say, if you're not one for the wet, I know I'm not one for the wet, as we've already discussed from our one of our previous races where I managed to join you. I think was my first time talking about those races there. I'm not one for the wet, so I can understand it from a driver's point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not one for the wet either, so that is okay. Apparently, she's called it a map. Oh, that is Atomic Tristan going very wide at the top of Radion, just before the Kemmel Straight. Had a good gap there to Crisper, possibly just getting in the way. She says, this map, and I don't get along on a dry track. So this circuit, and even on a dry track, I think she's saying she doesn't really get on with. So possibly just wanted to miss out on this one and take it easy for the rest of the season, as we're just about to hit the halfway point. Lap 19 now of 22. We're nearly at the end of this Grand Prix already. It's kind of flown by a little bit, hasn't it? It's only 8:30. So it's Josh from Tank, Lemon, the Asset, George Biel, and Jack Gorin in the top 6, with the battle for third still pushing on at the moment. Gap's starting to form a little bit more, though, as those tyres do start to bed in. Bomber from Hamish from YB Orthodox, who was running near the top, an accidental slip up on the tyre strategy meant he had to pit again for the intermediates, but is on fresher inters, so could even have a little bit of an advantage going into the last couple of laps. We're looking here at the Asset. The Asset really wanted to have a go on Jack. He's going to go onto the outside line, going to see if there's anything. Jack starts to squeeze the door a little bit, trying not to let him through, but the Asset finds that there's an open door as he goes onto the inside, but Jack firmly closes that and says, not today, my friend. You will stay behind. They go up Eau Rouge, onto Radion, now down the Kemmel Straight. What can the Asset do? Can the Asset catch up just enough in the slipstream to be able to make a move into the chicane? Here comes the Asset onto the outside. Jack stuck on the inside, stays on the inside. The inside becomes the outside. The outside becomes the inside. The Asset still has the corner. Now it's going to turn into the inside again. The Asset, though, had the corner and was able to keep it ahead.
Incredible moves there. I was flicking through some of the drivers that have already come through Lacombe from Kemmel. Seeing drivers already sliding through those corners. So the fact that those 3 drivers were able to race so close together without having any sort of incidents, spins or contact or whatever. Really, really good stuff. Really, really entertaining stuff. Really putting in those efforts to try and get that final spot on the podium. I think, unfortunately, we've had Josh and Tank run away with it a little bit again. But great that we've got some entertainment. We can see Jack Goring looking to make his moves as well, coming up to the back of George Biel. Is he going to start sticking his nose in and maybe getting into the mix of this?
Could well do. That is the joy of Spa. What have you seen?
Sorry, just a little bit of slide from George Biel. I think that's just allowed Jack Goring to actually take a position from him.
Yeah, it has. George Biel up into P5 then. Jack Goring up to P5. Jack slipping down, slipping up while George goes down to P6 from that slide there. It's been that interesting. I can't get my words out. That's what's going on, isn't it? 10-second time penalty for ignoring blue flags for Golf Maniac. So that's really not going to be good. Boom Beam with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So track limits really starting to have a bit of effect here at Spa-Francorchamps. We see it normally all the time anyway, but we're seeing it more as we go along the track. 3 laps to go then in what is a very, very wet Spa, because we all love a Spa day. This is a Spa day that Formula 1 fans like. We can see Jack Goring really trying to have a go there on Jack, but Jack just keeping that door shut. Jack trying to find another open door. They're heading down into Brazil's. Jack Goring has been able to get past. Lemon has left the door open and has been able to get past quite easily there. So Jack Goring on the older intermediates, able to get by there on the run to No Name as we go down into Pouon, and is now starting to extend the lead. And the Asset, though, I think, might firmly be in P3 at the moment, provided he keeps it on track. But Jack Goring, as we've said at the start, he's one quick driver. The gap's now under a second.
It is, yeah. It's obviously the start that we saw from qualifying, where we had a number of drivers not quite able to get their lap times in, and I believe Jack was obviously caught up in that based on the performance that we're seeing now from him. He was looking like he was a bit further down the field than perhaps he should have been, really making up the positions and obviously challenging for that podium. And I've not seen him in this season so far. I think this may or may not be his first, if not one of his first races in this season so far. So if he's able to capitalize and manage to get into that last podium spot, that's really going to bump him up the rankings.
Absolutely. 2 laps to go. And we are seeing a brilliant battle for the final podium positions. And it is just getting better and better. Orthodox down the main straight and into La Source, able to make a move on Hamis up into P8, trying to recover those points lost from that impromptu pit stop. As to me, no, I thought the rain was easing up a little bit. I thought we saw a little bit of sunshine for the moment. Thought this is really going to shake it up. Not that it will do much with a couple laps to go. But we've just missed. Jack Gorin is on the podium. He's up into P3. Jack Gorin, who started this race, as we can see, he's made up 5 positions over this Grand Prix in the changing weather conditions, able to go up into 3rd place. The Asset, fair play to him as well, up 9 positions. But Jack Gorin, this is going to shake up the championship as we go into the second half of the season, I think, if he carries on the way he's going.
Definitely. I think so. We've obviously got to bear in mind that we've got some penalties here as well. I was just looking at the penalties as we have currently with the standings. We've got Jack Goring on 6 seconds. We've got the Asset on 3. So based on what we have at the moment, if Jack can manage to keep himself within a rough 3-second gap, then he could still be within a shout. Obviously, the 6 seconds adding on to Jack Goring, if you can stay within that, then that's going to be swapping positions. If you can stay within 3 seconds of the Asset, there's a reasonable chance Jack can stay and get himself back on the podium based on those. Obviously, we're looking at the last lap here as well. I had a bit of a look at Boom Beans and what was happening on there. We had some track position changes. It looks like they're scrapping for that final points position down in P10. I believe that is the final points position. A swap of position again. Looking, we've got the inside of the chicane, going the outside. Boom Beans really trying to get that position to make it work. Has he got it? I think he has. Obviously, we've got a corner to go. It's probably going to be the decider in this. He's got the inside. Wheel to wheel. Wheel to wheel. I think, yeah, Boom Beans has managed to make that stick. If he can keep that for the rest of that lap, that's going to be a nice points addition to his table.
Absolutely. But this man at the top has dominated from the start, has been able to keep Tank away, swapping the positions at first, through the changing weather conditions, has not been able to fester. Last week was a race to forget. This week, it's victory once again for Josh. He wins the 2025 Belgian Grand Prix. That points lead slowly starting to dwindle at the top. Tank coming across the line now after a brilliant Grand Prix there. P2 for Tank as he starts to slide across the line. We might have to talk about sportsmanlike behaviour there. We don't normally allow that. Jack Gorin will come across the line, P3, hopefully in the next few minutes. Golf Maniac has got another 10-second time penalty for an unserved penalty as he crossed the line. FDQ comes home in 3rd. We're just waiting for Jack Gorin on his debut in the calendar. Will come into chicane, out of Blanchimont, through the bus stop chicane, and around the final corner. It's a maiden podium for Jack Gorin in his first race of the RAF Lightning's Esports Series, but it's gone already! Jack Lemon up into P3 after the penalties. George Biel able to go up as well. Then the Asset, and Jack Gorin unfortunately down to 6th, but we've got to hand it to Jack there. Podium on the track technically as Orthodox comes through P7, Bomber P8. It's going to be Hamis P9 and Crisper. No, it's Hamis P9, Moonbeam 10th, Crisper 11th. Atomic Tristan will come down P12. That's all the runners across the line. What a race. Crow, I hope you've got your notebook full, my friend, is all I'm saying. I do want to see what you're saying in the chat in the next couple of moments. Goofy Goober Mario, GG Josh. What a drive from Jack for a podium. Wish it was a podium that would have stuck. But what a drive there from Jack Gorin. We see him on the podium now before we go on to the final positions. Oh, I've just pressed button by accident. So driver of the day is the asset along with most overtakes. Orthodox was the cleanest driver. Fastest lap went to Jack Gorin. Race winner, though, of course, was Josh there. So Josh was your race winner from Tank, Jack Lemon, George Biel, the asset, Jack Gorin, YB Orthodox, Bomber, Hamis, Boom Beam, Crisper, Atomic Tristan, FDQ, Golf Maniac, James Kingo, and I Am Green did not finish. What a race, I think, for that one. Killjoy. It just, every lap something was happening, wasn't there?
Yeah, like literally, and right up to the literally to the line. Obviously, looking back towards the back end of the field as we were, and then coming straight back to Josh to watch him take that well-deserved victory. I think both Jacks that we have here, Lemon and Goring, should be pleased with their performance. Obviously, Goring putting in that spectacular drive, and it basically, unfortunately, only being some penalties due to some potentially careless corner entries or exits, costing him the penalties that came up with 6 seconds there. Jack, though, managing to hold on to third through the majority of that race, and then making sure that he was able to stay within that distance to claim it back at the end. I think they're both going to be very, very happy. We've obviously had a lot of stuff happening on this race, a lot of action. I think, yeah, just what a race, honestly.
Absolutely. The changing weather conditions as well. I think, like we said, a couple of drivers that we were watching today, drivers like Orthodox, unfortunately, kind of the race got robbed away from him, didn't it?
But that's a silly thing, though. It's like you go, oh, let's travel quicker, so then you don't get involved in all the mess.
We had a couple.
I qualified P10 and got rear-end.
Was it Kingy as well, from memory?
Yeah.
Who unfortunately went onto the mediums. Dare I say it didn't seem to impact him all that much. He wasn't having the best race. But yeah, with Orthodox and that swap, that he's probably going to be kicking himself a little bit for that one. We've all done it. I've certainly been there. I think for me, it's always been worse with front wing damage. Can never seem to get that to land in correctly. But yeah, he's going to be kicking himself, I think, after that one. The point of what could have been.
Yeah, what could have been, but still got the point. I want to see what Nemesis and Crow's got in their notebooks, because both of them have had their notebooks open tonight, and I am intrigued about what's in them. That may be a conversation in the Discord server in a few minutes' time once we come off air, to see what they think. But no, I think this race, once again, Spa, like we said at the start, always brings something, doesn't it? And
Always.
we just never know quite what's going to happen, especially when it comes down to weather. You know, Spa, we are in the middle of the Ardennes Forest. We just really cannot tell what's going on. That is it for this evening, though. Another week has finished. We are heading off. Nemesis, that's classified. Oh, haven't got clearance for that then, I guess. We're off to
an NFL draft.
NFL draft. Probably what's going to happen. We're off to Interlagos next week for the Brazilian Grand Prix, a race in which we saw Max Verstappen, I think in his first season with Red Bull, spin the car and yet kept it out of the barrier. It's probably one of the most memorable things I remember from there. I've actually got YB Orthodox messaging me. I think we might be able to find out what happened with the tyres. Yep, I forgot to change it to Inters on the MFD. It's what what he's just texted me saying. So it happens though, doesn't it? That's the thing. These things happen. So Orthodox, don't worry about it. I think you'll be all right. Apparently he was battling with Josh and he just forgot. But yeah, we're off to Interlagos. Interlagos next week again is iconic. You know, there's scenes from when Senna was racing in the McLaren. He won the Grand Prix. The crowd went crazy. We have seen scenes of, is that Glock? All I have to say is that, and everyone knows what that is. If you're a Formula One fan, you know is that Glock. And then 2013, I think, as well, for Sebastian Vettel, spin into the back of the grid. Alonso thought he had it, but Vettel coming back at the end of the V8 era to win the championship once again. And of course, Mark Webber taking his helmet off on his retirement lap, if you remember that one.
Unfortunately, I don't, but I do remember it being the last race of the last season that I was taking a part in the F1 series. And unfortunately, I needed some points. I desperately needed some points in order to try and keep a decent position. And I got sandwiched basically between two cars and sent off track, which more or less ended my race. So I already know personally we're going to see some action there as well. We've already obviously had quite a lot of that so far, so really, really exciting things to come, I think. I think anyone who was here today witnessing what we've seen will hopefully tune back in next week as well.
Absolutely. We're about the same time at the same place next weekend. And for the Brazilian Grand Prix, the halfway point of our season. But till then, thank you very much for watching. See you next week.